JS and the Lockerbillies started when I was on a train ride back to Trimley St Martin from a gig on a ferry boat in Newcastle. It was March 2014 and I had come up with a name after listening to Johnny J.R. Cash obsessively and busking his amazing stories around Newcastle and Amsterdam. On the train I called an old friend who I hadn't seen in too long, James Hicks. I needed a drummer and I needed the best. Funnily enough, after seeing the Phil Jackson rock and roll band, Hicks was hankering to start a 50s band for his parents' up and coming party. After losing our first bass player, I turned to the only person I knew could give the dedication needed to be gigging every week, Murray Collins. After jamming in the Hicks' garage for a month, finally crafting a set of songs that could push the boundaries of our playing and push the crowd onto the dance floor, we made our move. The Hicks' party came first, then Ipswich's The Cock and Pie. I took my solo act around to many vaudeville, variety and burlesque shows in big tops and fancy bars and learnt how to engage audiences properly, not only through music. I then officially launched the band at the Manor Ballroom, Ipswich. We staged a filming of our full live set, which is still available on our YouTube. It was here we met many of our swing and jive dancing friends that would accompany us at so many of the following shows. This was our first example of what we could bring to events, and it is still used today by new couples and venues alike when considering us for their shindig. Halloween of 2014 saw us joining the Swan in Ipswich, dressed as Dracula, the Mummy Murray, and Wolfman. We started up as their monthly house band and would continue this for 4 consecutive and goddamn beautiful Halloweens, 2014, 2015, 2016, and 2017. Moreover, that same spooky night of 2014, a mystical man came and visited us with his then girlfriend and watched us play. He turned out to be a mysterious multi-instrumentalist by the name of Rich Webb. Not long after meeting the Webbs through Hicks, James started gushing about how much having Rich on his recording projects helped to fill out their sound, as well as bringing the convenience of many instruments in one man. So with a little bit of bribery, Rich was ours. Now at this same time I was playing with and managing a guitar and double bass duo called the JS Combo. I won't go into details, but I'll just say we aren't and won't be a thing anymore. After losing a double bass player and a significant amount of paying gigs in the spring of 2015, I was determined not to be beaten. So I bought a double bass, and with only 2 weeks to learn it before an upcoming gig at the Fludges in Felixstowe, I drafted Rich into duty as the guitarist. The show went surprisingly well, and thanks to our friend Bobby Coppin, our second performance was to a sold-out crowd at Colchester Arts Centre, supporting the one and only The Levellers. I saw how well this was going and how I could make this my full-time job, so I invested. I got us stocked up with a full active EV-ELX ZLX PA system with a PreSonus Studio Live 1642 desk, so we could stop stealing Hicks' dad's. Just as importantly, I got us transport, the Black Whale, my infamous 17-foot rare right-hand drive V8 5.7 litre Chevrolet G20, built in 1994. The old girl is my Millennium Falcon and is still with me today, though not without some gremlins in the machinery. Even before forming the band, I had been creating all of the graphics, website, promo material and posters for gigs, and I still do this to this day. I'm immensely proud of the body of work that has come around to about 300 posters and counting. I do all the bookkeeping, gig bookings and marketing, and at the time, I wouldn't have had it any other way. I guess I'm a control freak, but I prefer I did this work for free than not being able to pay somebody properly for it, and honestly, for the immense amount of time it takes. After a slew of gigs all around the UK, in the summer of 2015, I began writing our first EP. Money was tight and I did all of the recording, playing and mixing by myself on my laptop using Logic 9 and a Focusrite Sapphire 2i2. Whilst locked away in the basement of my incredible mum's house, I got around to recording all the parts. Keys, drums, harmonica, double bass, guitar, vocals, the works. At this time, Rich was just picking up the saxophone, about 2 to 3 weeks of practice, and he came out with a belter of a performance on Go-Go Dancer. I finished off the album with 4 more songs: Bull, Indecisive Blues, Ain't Got Time, and A Fool. My goal was to release the EP at our second Halloween show at the Swan, and with just a week to go I bounced the tracks down and sent them off to print, but things rarely go to plan when you leave them to last minute and the CDs didn't show. I was forced to burn all of the tracks to 100 blank CDs and give them out for free at the show. I must admit that this was a pretty big sucker punch in the budget. I had to get on with bookings and playing shows. I started DJing to pay the bills, and on most occasions I would be doing 7 to 10 gigs a week, sometimes in just 3 days. Through all of this, Murray started learning to play the double bass, with some pointers from me. He took to it like a Murray to music and began to excel. He joined me in performing the duo sets. Murray and Rich shared the shows up between themselves. A novel idea came to me when playing at the Royal Ascot, at the Bridge in Shoreditch, the Roadhouse in Covent Garden. Why not start a band karaoke using only 50s music? Lockerbillies enjoyed a great run at the Swan, where audience members and friends, usually cut off from us on stage, could join us and feel the joy of performing this music with us. My head almost hit the ceiling after our busiest Christmas period ended with the greatest present that I couldn't tell anybody about. We were going to play Glastonbury 2016. I'd been bashing my head against the wall of festivals for months and months, and to no avail. I'd given up hope. Because I was agentless and small time, it seemed no one even felt like replying. No matter how much promo material I'd collated, music I'd released, radio play and social media interest we'd built, we were invisible. Then Lisa and the gang at the Field of Avalon gave me the chance. One thing with running a band is that availability reigns king. I'm lucky that my guys are professional musicians and local, but they can't always be around. 2 of them were booked over the Glastonbury period, but I'd known about the availability pitfall before, and I always have backups. Ben Diffley and Ben Goebel had joined the ranks, and we got rehearsing. Needless to say, it opened our eyes. After careening the Black Whale in the dead of night through thunder, lightning, sheets of rain, flooding, and near-death experiences, we arrived with only minutes to spare. Tired and deprived of sleep, we bounded on stage to a crowd of over 1,000 wet and weary festival goers, and we tore the place apart. After a weekend of dragging our equipment through the mud, waking up to rivers outside the tents, and playing 5 shows back to back, we were the happiest we'd ever been. I remember sitting at the highest point of Worthy Farm with the boys and singing Bohemian Rhapsody to the lights below as a farewell. We will meet again. Thanks to Glasto, I had a bargaining chip. The papers were picking up our story, radio and TV too. My ugly mug was in print all over the place, and we returned to Ipswich Music Day to triumphantly celebrate our hard work with thousands of our hometown gang. We spent the remainder of our summer headlining local festivals and discovering new places and people. Bliss. Our growing and learning in our industry took us outside of the UK, to a beautiful web wedding in the south of France, a warm and welcoming reception in Dublin, and another beautiful web wedding in Canada. I try to think of us as being a charitable band. I prefer to give by performing for charity and helping to raise awareness. Some noble causes I've supported have been Electric Umbrella, the NSPCC, Cancer Research, Genesis MenCap, Find, and many care and assisted living facilities to which I've played music as a healer. Sorry if it seems I'm posturing a bit, but I have a platform and a bit of a responsibility to use it to raise awareness. These charities I've just named are all in need, so please look them up. This brings us to our Children in Need show at the Spa Pavilion Theatre, our biggest stage back then. We'd performed for BBC Suffolk and Stephen Foster previously for their 25th anniversary on the Ipswich Regent stage, where I worked for a few years. However, the Spa was a big stage set up for us. And by us, I mean our music community. Our brothers and sisters in arms, Ashton Jones and the Inner Heart Band, Hot Tramp and Kid Mojo, joined us to spread the word and raise awareness using a pretty unconventional video. You can still find this on our Facebook page. And it worked. Hundreds came to fill the auditorium and we played blistering sets, helping the BBC and the Spa raise over £3,000 for children in need. That day, we also joined Leslie Dolphin live on the BBC Children in Need Tea Party, which helped to spread the word a little bit too. Christmas came and went much the same as before, playing beautiful venues for beautiful souls on their wedding days, birthday parties, anniversaries, work gatherings and such. Another barn-stomping New Year's Eve spent at the Swan came and went, and we started selling t-shirts with personalised names on them. January was slow. After the grandiose spending that the holiday period brings, people don't really book gigs, and we were left twiddling our thumbs and eating mostly noodles for the first cold months of 2017. It was pretty dark, I'm not going to lie. It's hard to pay your bills on just 1 gig a weekend, and sometimes it was less than 1. But springtime came early and we came out of hibernation to another invitation to Glastonbury 2017. Joining the ranks for this one was Mr. Chris King of Planet Music, where I'd been teaching for a year and a half before this. Ben G joined Murray and I again, and another mad weekend was spent ripping up stages, getting the word out and selling merch. We rubbed shoulders with the Mavericks, The Feeling, Sophia Hurst-Bextor, and I learnt a lot from perching on the railings backstage and watching all these people play. After this, another summer was spent riding the momentum from the festival season. Car shows up and down the country and a headline slot at the biggest free music festival in the country with Town 102, Ipswich Music Day. We continued to hone and perfect our playing with the use of a side project I had set up called JS and the Pomp, trying to play gypsy jazz like Django Reinhardt, and Murray's double bass playing excelled. We filled our time with playing weddings in even more new and exciting places. And that brings us to now, and Christmas time is here again. I'm looking at my diary and we're just as busy as ever, but there's been something I've been holding back. My own voice. Our own voice. True, we released our own original music, but that was 2 years ago. And there's only so much that you can bring to an audience when you're singing other people's songs. Johnny Cash, Buddy Holly, Elvis Presley, Little Richard, Chuck Berry, Howlin' Wolf, Stevie Ray Vaughan. These people kept me going on sleepless nights on the road and shirt-drenching days on the stage, but their voices are their voices and not mine. I have now chosen 22 new songs out of the countless songs I've written over the past 3 years to present to you. There are 2 albums worth here. There are jivers, strollers, balboas, charlestons, swing dances, any dance you can think of. There's blues, there's rockabilly, there's rock and roll, there's soul, there's jazz, there are ballads, any kind of music for any kind of mood you're in. And this is where you come in. As per usual, I'll be taking the helm of the project management, but I want to be able to work with all these fantastic instrumentalists that I've met over the past 3 years, what they can bring to this album. There are trumpet players, organ players, banjo players, harmonica players, and I want to pay them all a fair wage. I've set the budget target for this for £5,500, and if I keep that on target through the pre-ordered album sales, I'll be able to pay for the performers, the engineers crafting the sound, the venue hire, the mastering process, the equipment hire, and all these different things to get that sound that makes your head go spinning round. Thank you for listening to our story. It really does mean a lot. If you'd like to find out more or get in touch, please follow me to lockerbillies.com. You can find us on Twitter, you can find us on Instagram, you can find us on Facebook. If you've ever been to a show and you've met us and you've been part of this journey with us, thank you so much. It's really helped us to get here. I hope to see you again at a show sometime.